Hey y'all, it's October 31st as I'm recording this, and I just wanted to say a few words about Halloween. I don't want to go on too long about it, but I feel compelled to just make a few observations about the day itself and how things have changed over the course of my lifetime with regard to Halloween and how people view it. Today there are a lot of people who just think Halloween is evil, that's a celebration of the devil and of demonic things, and we should not participate in it. And this is mostly Christian groups, evangelical Christians, conservative fundamentalists, mostly Protestant Christians. Although I'm thinking there are probably also some Catholics and even some Orthodox who also have that same perspective on Halloween right now. And I've just got to say, I have no idea what Halloween was like before the 1970s because I wasn't around. But I can remember that in the 70s and 80s, Halloween was just good, clean fun, and everybody felt that way about it. Nobody that I was aware of, and I lived in the South. I lived in the Bible Belt, where there were a lot of very religious people, and yes, the religious right was a thing in the 70s and especially into the 80s. But I don't remember anybody ever saying, "Oh, Halloween is bad. Don't dress up for Halloween. Don't participate in Halloween. Don't have your kid go around knocking on doors saying trick or treat. That's bad. That's evil. You're participating in evil if you do that." It seems like it wasn't until the 90s, into the 90s, into like the mid or even to the late 90s, that you started to hear that sort of thing from these kinds of people. And I'm not, you should all well know, if you follow my channel, I'm not anti-Christian at all. I'm pro-Christian. I'm Christian myself. Well, I'm Catholic, which some of you might say is not truly Christian, but but anyway, whatever. So I'm not approaching this from the angle of someone who's got a grudge against Christianity, because I don't at all, and I also believe the demonic is real. But I just remember that in the 70s and in the 80s, I mean, the demonic was just as real then as it is now, right? It was just as real, and whatever, the decades before that. I don't know when kids started trick-or-treating, or if it was just an American thing, or I don't know much about the history. I'm just talking about my own perspective on things. I do know that in the 70s and 80s, I didn't hear a peep out of anybody. Never heard a peep out of anybody saying, "Oh, Halloween, no, bad. Don't dress up for Halloween. It's Satan's holiday. It's the day of the devil. Don't do that." And of course, in the liturgical calendar, Halloween is All Hallows Eve, the day before All Saints Day, which is my favorite day. Might be my favorite day of the liturgical year, just because I love the saints. Not the team, not the New Orleans Saints, but I'm saying I love saints. I love the lexicon of saints. I think it's beautiful. I love reading about saints and their lives, and their example inspires me, and I find it all very wholesome. And that was part of the appeal of Catholicism for me, was the emphasis on the saints. So I don't know how this all started, and maybe some of you will have memories of, oh yeah, I was alive in the 70s and too, and we didn't celebrate Halloween. We thought Halloween was evil, or whatever. I just didn't hear. I never heard about that. I got a pretty good sampling of what people around me were thinking and feeling. And I knew a lot of people who were very religious. Growing up, I wasn't terribly religious. I went to church. I went to a Lutheran church, but I wasn't really that into it. But I had kids who were very into, they're going to church and talking about God and talking about the devil and stuff like that. And I never heard any of them say, don't participate in Halloween. It's the devil's holiday. Again, it was understood by everybody that I was aware of to just be good, clean fun. Regardless of your politics, regardless of your religious faith, that was how people viewed the day. And another thing that I would say has changed about Halloween is it used to be much more innocent. There were no sexy Halloween costumes in the 70s and 80s. That just didn't exist. It wasn't something that was happening. It wasn't something anybody really conceived of. It seems like, interestingly, that only became a thing in the 90s. When there was this counter current against Halloween that suddenly came up, and so from the right, let us say, from conservatives, there was this anti-Halloween sentiment, and from people who maybe weren't necessarily liberals, but who weren't all that religious, and I don't know. It became more of an adult thing. When I was growing up, Halloween was for kids. It was for the kids. I mean, you maybe you dressed up, but you had your own costume, and it wasn't a sexy costume. You dressed up like whatever, a witch or a goblin or a football player, or whatever else. It doesn't even have to be a scary costume. It was just a costume. And most of the costumes weren't really all that. Most of them were homemade. There wasn't really too much going out and buying a costume and wanting your costume to look great, to look perfect or anything like that. There were no, Spirit Halloween type stores that were around at the time. I don't believe. It wasn't uncommon to just put a sheet over your head, cut a couple eyes, cut a couple holes where your eyes are, and then you're a ghost. But afterwards, it seems like Halloween, into the 90s and into the 21st century, this whole idea of having Halloween parties that were for adults became a thing, and this whole idea, particularly for women, like this is the time to be slutty. I'm going to be a sexy nurse on Halloween, or I'm going to be a sexy this or a sexy that. That wasn't even conceived of. That wasn't even thought of. And there was, people knew about sex. People knew about dressing sexy back then. But it just wasn't incorporated into Halloween, because Halloween was for kids, and kids were innocent. And if you dressed up, if you dressed in a costume, it was sort of to be fun, with the kids. So I kind of, I'm not lying. I kind of wish that things were still like they were when I was a kid growing up with regard to Halloween. Those are my thoughts on it anyway. Take them for whatever you think they're worth. And happy Halloween to everyone. And more importantly, happy All Saints Day tomorrow. Thanks for watching.